What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to record a guitar amp to your DAW. This way you can have the awesome sounds that come from your guitar amp like the GM40 here, recorded onto the song that you're working on. Now keep in mind, I'm using the DAW GarageBand for today with my Rock-U Mini interface. But the tips and tricks we're showing you in this video will apply to any other DAW or interface that you use. So the first thing we're going to want to do is connect the interface to your computer. Like I mentioned today, I'm using the Rock-U Mini 2-channel interface here. So you'll just take the USB cable that comes included and plug the USB-B end into your interface. Then you'll take the USB-A end and plug that into your computer, or in this case, I'm going to plug it into my USB hub here. Next, you'll want to go into the sound settings of your computer here and switch your input and output device to the interface you're using. So first we'll do that with the output by clicking onto this output sign here. So you'll see this menu of all the different output devices we can use here. So I'll just want to hover over the Rock-U Mini and click on it to set that as the output. We're going to do the same exact thing for the input, so we'll just click on input, hover down to Rock-U Mini, and click on it to set it as the input device. You're also going to want to do this on the sound settings of the DAW you're using, so I'll just go into the output device, click on Rock-U Mini for the output, and as soon as I switch the output device, it automatically changed the input device as well. Now the best way to get an accurate sound of your guitar amp into your DAW is with microphones. The advantage of this approach is that the sound recorded will be the one that you hear right from your guitar amp, as opposed to using a direct output or a line output that's available on your amp, which generally sounds a bit harsh or fuzzy. So next we have to decide if we're using a condenser microphone or a dynamic microphone to record our amp. There are different advantages or benefits of using a condenser or dynamic microphone, and there are different tonal qualities you'll hear in your recording when you're using one or the other. Now, one of the advantages of using a dynamic microphone is that they aren't as sensitive as condenser microphones, so they can handle loud noises or loud playing, which especially comes in handy if you want to try to capture overdriven sounds or distorted sounds from your amp. And because these mics aren't as sensitive, they won't pick up much room noise or hum, which is helpful if you're recording at home and can't control outside noises. Now this isn't to say that condenser microphones wouldn't be good for these types of setups, because they do indeed get a great sound. Because condenser microphones are more sensitive, they get to pick up all of the different characteristics of your amplifier, giving you a richer sound as long as the room you're recording in is isolated enough to not pick up too much outside noise. We're going to show you guys how the amplifier sounds using one type of microphone at a time, starting with the dynamic microphone here, which is our very own RMC XLR. So first thing we'll want to do is take an XLR cable, take the female end and plug that into the mic itself, then take the male end and plug that into a channel on your interface. Today we'll use channel 1. Now the placement of the microphone itself will affect the overall sound of the recording of your amplifier. This means you'll want to have a flexible enough mic stand so you can position the microphone in different places around your amp. So we recommend you use one like our RDMS70 or the RKDS like the one we're using here. You can also use a gooseneck stand like our very own RDMS7, which is useful because the gooseneck allows you to point your microphone in different flexible positions. So once we put our microphone onto the stand, we can then figure out where we want the microphone to point to our amp. So if we place our microphone more towards the center of the cone of our amplifier, you'll actually get more of a brighter sound. And if you place the microphone more on the side of the cone, you'll get less of that high end and more low end. You can also adjust the angle of your microphone and place it either on axis, which is 90 degrees perpendicular of the dust cap of your amp for a brighter, punchier sound, or you can place it off axis at a 45-degree angle for more smoothness of your high end. Now keep in mind you can change the angle of your microphone whether you're near the center of the cone or on the side of the cone. There are many different ways you can record a guitar amp, so feel free to try different positions to get the sound that you want. So after we've positioned the microphone to the amplifier, we'll go back to our DAW, we'll create an audio track, we're then going to set the input, so since we're using channel 1 on our interface, we're going to set it to input 1, click on create, then we can click on the title of the track and rename it guitar amp, and then you'll want to raise the level knob on the channel you're using on your interface so you get a nice strong signal. To check the level on your track, you're going to want to play your guitar as loud as you think you're going to play it on your song, and make sure that you're not in the red or clipping your track. So for example, if I play as loud as I'm going to play, you'll see our level is still in the green, which means that we're not clipping and we've got a good signal. If you do see that your track is clipping, all you'll need to do is lower the level knob on your interface till you see that your track isn't clipping as you're playing at your loudest. After you've set the gain, all you have to do is hit record and lay down some guitar. So now we're going to do the same exact thing with our RCM Pro condenser microphone. The setup for these microphones are very similar, except you want to activate phantom power on your interface to power the condenser mic. You may also want to use the pad button depending on how loud your amplifier gets while you're playing, so that the signal doesn't clip while using condenser microphones. So after we do that and set the level on our channel, all we have to do is hit record. Now you can also use both a dynamic microphone and a condenser mic together and blend the sound to taste. As you can see, we're going to set up our dynamic microphone on axis to our amp, and then we're going to set up our condenser microphone a little further away to pick up the resonance of the amp. Now we're going to be setting up our dynamic microphone to channel 2 on our interface, which only has a 1/4 inch input, so we'll need an XLR to 1/4 inch cable. Now on GarageBand, you'll want to make a new track for your condenser and dynamic microphone, and set the input to both input 1 and 2 so that the microphones are used together. On different DAWs, you can set up 2 audio tracks and set them at their own input to record at the same time. Next, we'll want to set the levels on both channels on our interface, and then we're good to hit record. Now because I had to record both microphones on the same track just now, I'm going to record again with one mic at a time so you can hear what's going on with both. Again, you can experiment with the placements of both microphones to get the best sound for your recording. Now, if we wanted to record both the clean signal that comes out of your guitar right before it reaches the amp and the sound of the guitar amp itself, we can use a passive DI box like our very own RDI5 to do so. Again, we can use the DI box to record the sound of the guitar coming out of the guitar amp at the same time as recording just the clean signal of the guitar itself. This way we can take the recording of the clean signal and run it through different plugins on our DAW like guitar amp simulators or other plugins to shape the sound of the guitar from there. So to set up our DI box, I'm going to take 2 1/4 inch cables. I'm going to take an end of 1 1/4 inch cable and plug that into the input of my DI. Then I'm going to take the other end and plug that into my guitar. Then I'm going to take one of the ends of my second 1/4 inch cable and plug that to the through on my DI. Then I'll take the other end and plug that into the input of my guitar amp. So next we need to connect the DI box to our Rock-U Mini. Now because we're already using the XLR input on our Rock-U Mini for our condenser microphone, I'm going to take an XLR to 1/4 inch cable to connect my DI. So I'm going to take the female XLR end and plug that into the output of my DI. Then I'll take the 1/4 inch end and plug that into channel 2 on my Rock-U Mini. Again, we can go back into our DAW and make a new track for our DI channel. For this one, we'll want to set the input to input 2. We'll rename the track Guitar DI, and from there we can go ahead and record. Now because GarageBand only allows you to record 2 signals at the same time through one track, I'm going to give you 3 samples where we do the DI and the amp together, and then the amp and the DI by themselves. Now if you had an interface with more than 2 channels, you can use all the methods that we talked about today with the mic placements and the angles of the microphone to record your guitar amp and get the sound that you want. So feel free to experiment as you go along. Again, there's no rules, so just do what you feel is right and to get the best sound out of your recording. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to record a guitar amp to your DAW, but of course if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.